get those kids out of school that are acting like cats and dogs and barking and litter boxes. I'm hearing all that weird stuff, and it's crazy.
You know, I really don't like criticizing or what comes off as making fun of regular people. But I also don't know how to address some of the nonsensical things that are being said at Trump rallies by Trump supporters without it coming off as me making fun of them. And it's amazing to me that these journalists from Newsmax, OAN, and RSBN go to these Trump rallies. They interview these people. They have to realize that these interviews are horrible and that they shouldn't be airing these people because they come off so misinformed, but they air these interviews anyway. And so when I see these interviews and I want to just talk about them and analyze them and just talk about how misinformed people are and how unserious the Republican Party is, it comes off as making fun of them because they present themselves so badly. I mean, so watch this video and just watch the video.
What's your name and where are you from?
Robin Cook in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin.
Okay, so you're from here, so you know about the immigration situation that we've been dealing with here. There was a convict who was released from Minnesota, Tim Walz's area, where he governs very irresponsibly, and you're seeing that here, an uptick in immigration problems here. Tell me about that.
Well, it's scary because I worry about our kids in the area. You know, you don't want to let them out. They got sex trafficking and all the drugs and fentanyl, and it's got to be stopped. And money for our vets.
Okay, let's stop there. And I know, it seems like no matter how many times we say these things, it never seems to get to the right people. But we can't be discouraged. We have to continue to fight against the misinformation and disinformation. So first of all, sex trafficking in America has more to do with Americans than anyone coming across the southern border. Those are all lies being told to you by Donald Trump and other far-right people and far-right news organizations. Second of all, it is common knowledge that 99% of the fentanyl coming across the southern border is being brought here by American citizens through legal channels. It is not being brought here by, the people, by Hispanic people coming across the border from Mexico. Not to mention, we have a fentanyl problem in this country because we have a demand for fentanyl in this country. If you want to stop the amount of fentanyl coming into this country, cut off the demand. Let's do more to help people get off of illicit drugs. These are things that Democrats are championing. Okay? Then she says, more money for vets. This is another thing that Republicans like to do. It's kind of a bait and switch. Anytime there's a penny that's being given to a foreign nation or a migrant, Republicans will say, let's do more for American families. Let's do more for veterans. So then Democrats will say, okay, cool. Let's look at the VA. Let's give more money to the VA. Let's give more money to veterans. Let's get homeless veterans off the street. Let's do more for these veterans who have, all these residual effects from going to war and all those types of things. And then Republicans will say, oh, you must be a socialist. They're so disingenuous and sometimes just confused. I think the ones that are disingenuous are these journalists who are speaking to these people who lack the mental acuity to understand how they're being duped.
That's right. I love that. We don't hear that enough, especially on the other side, about how important it is to appreciate and look out for our veterans.
Yes.
When it comes to the economy, how are grocery prices treating you?
It's in the hole. Yeah.
Joe Biden signed the PACT Act. Republicans voted against it. This opened up life-saving medical access to hundreds of thousands of veterans exposed to burn pit toxins. It's helping prevent cancer and lung disease. And again, Republicans voted against it. Then she said grocery prices are in the hole. This might be a good time to point out that inflation was a global issue, and America is doing better than any other developed country in bringing inflation down.
It's a tough time for everybody. What about men and women's sports? Any thoughts on that?
Oh, my Lanta. Men, stay in your own lane. Women, stay in your own lane.
I totally agree with that.
As someone who has been a collegiate track and field coach for 22 years now, I can tell you that this is only an issue with the far right. This is not an issue in our actual coaching and athletic realm. Whenever you ask these people, how many transgenders do you think are playing collegiate sports or anything like that? They're way off all the time because the numbers aren't as big as they think. And we don't look at it as men are taking over women's sports. The NC2A is regulating this. I trust them to regulate it in a fair way, and they have been. The reason the right brings this up is because they know that they've lied to these people for so long about this, that they've told these people that, men are just taking over women's sports, and your daughter's going to go in the locker room and there's just going to be a bunch of men in there. And if your daughter goes to a bathroom in Target, there's going to be men in there. These things are not happening. And it's sad that they continue this horrible misinformation that is going to get people hurt.
Now, you have little ones. I have a 4-year-old myself. When it comes to protecting our kids and the America that we hand over to them one day, you look at the economy, you look at how decisive this election will be for the future, the trajectory of our country. What's your hope for them when it comes to a Trump presidency?
Freedom. And get those kids out of school that are acting like cats and dogs and barking and litter boxes. I'm hearing all that weird stuff, and it's crazy.
Actually, what's crazy is that you've fallen victim so many times to lies, misinformation, and disinformation. And the fact that these lies were told by people as high as Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. was on record saying that his kids were telling him about kids in class who licked their hands and went to the bathroom in kitty litter boxes. That never happened in one school in America ever. It never happened. And the fact that this is an interview from a couple of days ago, and this woman is still regurgitating these lies, it's sad. It's absolutely sad that this is where we are in America. I've said this so many times. These people are not serious. There's no way you can tell me that the Republican Party is serious about governing when they're going around saying things like this and allowing their constituents to believe this stuff. They are a party that is unserious, run by a man who is unserious. And this is why, again, it is so important to get out and vote. I cannot stress to you guys how important it is for you to right now, today, check your voter registration. Make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Then I need you to call your friends, call your family members, your mom, your dad, your grandmother, your grandfather, and ask them to check their voter registration. And then on that day in November, when it is time for us to vote, you take yourself and you take other people to the polling place as well. We cannot allow this ideology to fester in this country. We cannot allow Donald Trump to see the inside of the White House ever again. It's that serious. Period.